All right, hey everyone. Mr. Thompson, it's a pleasure to have you on the Politico stage today. Congressman Bennie Thompson is the top Democrat on the House Homeland Security Committee and is a familiar face to me and many others in this room for his role as the chair of the January 6th Select Committee. Mr. Thompson, so glad to have you here today to talk and answer some questions. A much different change of pace than us running after you in the halls to ask who you subpoenaed this week.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Let's get started. So I just want to ask a little bit about some of the speeches that we saw last night. All of the speeches last night touched on a lot of the themes that you had pursued with the January 6th committee. We heard from, and we saw that video, saw a lot of the same themes. But are you sure this is something that's going to resonate with voters in November?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm convinced that what people saw last night reminded them of what happened on January 6, 2021. And you say, oh my goodness, it did happen. Well, I'm here to say that what you saw with your own eyes really happened, and that a president who could weaponize citizens against our great country was something that I thought would never happen. But yet it did, and unfortunately, as some of my comments last night said, it has the potential to happen again. Some of the words that we are hearing coming from former President Trump as to whether or not if he loses the election, the only way he will lose it is it was stolen. We're beginning to hear that kind of verbiage coming from him and some of his surrogates out here, so I'm very concerned about it. I would hope that I'm wrong, but based on what I know that occurred last time, I think it's something we should be very concerned about.
But do you worry that if Trump wins the election, you and other January 6th Select Committee members could be targets of retributive prosecutions, especially given Trump's false claims of illegality?
Well, there's no question about it. There are individuals who are in Congress right now who said that given a chance, Liz Cheney and others of us who served on that committee would clearly be targeted. Right now, some of us get swatted by crazy calls, some of us are harassed by a lot of other things, but it goes with the territory. Unfortunately, in America, some of these things at our level, you just have to contend with. But I'm optimistic. I trust the good people of this country that in the end they'll do right. And for a lot of us who've been on the winning and losing side of elections, I never thought in my lifetime that I'd see Americans acting like third world countries when they disagree with the government. And so here we are in the greatest democracy known to man, acting like God knows who.
What do you see as your Select Committee's main legacy, especially if Trump escapes legal consequences and he very well could win the White House this fall?
Well, I think the legacy is that we took a nonpartisan approach to trying to find the facts and circumstances around January 6th. What we did, we assembled a crackerjack staff, went all over the country looking for those facts. We found the electors who were not electors, but who were formed by the Republican Party, and we shared that with DOJ and others, and many of them have been indicted. So I think the work of our committee, the fact that over 85% of the people who testified before the committee were either employees of the administration or card-carrying Republicans. So even in this country, Republicans don't want our government to act that way they were doing under the Trump administration. So I see a way forward for us, but our democracy is very precious, and we have to work at it and not take it for granted. Otherwise, a lot of people of different ilk will be in charge.
If Trump wins this fall, is your committee's work a failure?
No. I think he'll have his day in court. He's been indicted by some of the work that our committee undertook, and he'll have his day in court. What we did prove is no one is above the law, even the President of the United States, even a Supreme Court who talks about immunity. You know, I'm convinced that just because you're a president, you're not king, you're not a czar, and you should know right from wrong. And you can't hide behind the color of law in doing wrong. You look at what happened on January 6th. A majority of people in this country had no idea what January 6th was about until the tweet went out and ultimately said, come to Washington, until that little end part of the tweet that said it's going to be wild. Wow. You invite me to a peaceful demonstration, and then you tag the end of it saying it will be wild. Well, there was some nefarious activities taking place behind the scenes. A lot of our committee shared with the public, but I'm still convinced that at the end of the day, people still love this country. People will do what's in the best interest of this country. But every now and then, our democracy is put to test. And January 6th was one of those challenges, and I'm glad we survived it. Before January 6th, I would have lost money that something like that would have never happened, but it did.
Have you spoken to Liz Cheney at all since she left Congress?
We've had a couple of chats. Liz, as you know, has written a book. And I think, first of all, I chose her as my vice chair. I could have picked any other member of the committee, but I thought it was important that a black guy from the South who's Democrat pick a polar opposite to chair the committee to take the perception that it was something against the president. And before that, I had not had really any real engagement with Liz. You know, facts about it, other than meeting in the elevator going to vote, there was no interaction at all. But we've not talked. I know she's busy on the lecture circuit. A lot of people ask me about her. They see her as a champion for what's right. It has nothing to do with party, has nothing to do with trying to stick with the Republican line. She's a great patriot, and in my humble opinion, I don't think we've heard the last of her.
And to shift gears a little bit, I want to ask you about some other more recent events, including the recent assassination attempt on former President Trump. Do you regret proposing a bill to strip Secret Service protection from felonious ex-presidents in light of that attempt?
You know, a president of the United States is the highest office that one can hold in this great country. But that doesn't mean you can break the law. If you are a felon and get convicted, why should the Secret Service protect you in prison? The Department of Correction is challenged to do that. And so it wasn't specifically directed at Donald Trump. But you know, if the shoe fit, you have to wear it. And what happens is we have over 30 people who have Secret Service protection. Jimmy Carter, who's on his deathbed right now, has a Secret Service detail assigned to him. That's just what the law says. So Jimmy Carter, George Bush, Bill Clinton, their family, they all have Secret Service detail. Now, if they go out and break the law and get sent to jail, why should they be entitled to that Secret Service detail? You know, as long as they law-abiding citizens, they keep it. But at the time he was, former President Trump had the assassination attempt, really had nothing to do with him. Secret Service is under the committee that I'm the ranking Democrat on. I've never voted against a budget for the Secret Service. They work night, day, hard, but there were some missteps taken in Butler, Pennsylvania. We'll get to the bottom of it, and we'll fix it. But it's unfortunate, and I look forward to the results of the task force that's looking at it. And if it requires more money and resources to protect the people who are under their charge, we need to do it, plain and simple.
We're almost at time, so just really quickly, from your view on the Homeland Security Committee and your role with the January 6th Committee, is the government ready this time for another presidential transition?
Yes, and I tell you why. We've fixed some things since January 6, 2021 occurred. We've plussed up the budget. We've secured the Capitol. We've interfaced how we gather intelligence so that now all those agencies, FBI, state police, park police, DC police, Capitol Police, believe it or not, they're finally sharing information. So if they find out something, then they share it with everyone. The National Guard, it took the National Guard almost 3 hours after they were notified to come to the Capitol to come. We've taken that away now. You call, you come. They were 5 minutes away from the Capitol, but because of the politics of the moment, the Pentagon didn't okay that. We fixed that. Now, there are still some things to go. We need to make sure that our Capitol Police and our Sergeant at Arms talk to each other. Right now, it's a two-headed system. They have to talk to each other, and sometimes those systems fail. On that day, it failed. The readiness part for January 6th last time was kind of at parade readiness. It wasn't at a riot readiness. So we had a lot of equipment in the basement stored away that if we had used it for a riot situation, those individuals probably would not have broken into the Capitol. But we were not at that readiness level. So obviously our men and women were hurt. We lost 5 people in that assault, and some 145 men and women in law enforcement were hurt. I don't think we'll ever have it again. I hope not. The last time someone broke into the United States Capitol before then was the war, during the War of 1812. So we had a long stretch, but this was an embarrassment. My wife had to call me. I was inside and tell me what was going on because we were under siege. And so for our democracy, as I said in my comments last night, we normally settle our differences at the ballot box. And, you know, we recount and we go to court. But then if I'm on the losing end, I say, I'll see you in 4 years. You know, I don't create a plan B to just tear the place down. We're a better country than that.
Sir, we're at time, so thank you so much. That was an insightful conversation. And